are just happy that you are joining us for another deep dive. In this deep dive, we are going to be looking at a teaching series called The Messengers from Grow Kids Volume 5. What we're going to do in this deep dive is give you like a big picture look at what the series is all about, but we're also going to go a little deep on some of the details so that you can make this series extra awesome. Linda, tell us more about what we're doing today.
So, yeah, if you're a Grow user, then as usual, we're going to run through all of the things you are going to be seeing in the Messenger series. And if you're not a Grow user, still okay. We're so happy you're here. We're going to share some fun tips that you can probably take back to your ministry and make it work for you as well. So, what we're going to do right now is we're going to first go through a big overview, like a big picture look at the series. And then we're going to look at the theme and just some fun ways that you can dress up this series for you. And then we're going to look at the structure and just the different ways that we're teaching all the stories and big ideas this month. And lastly, we're going to give you some fun tips to elevate the messengers to the very best it could be.
So, The Messengers is a series that is all about the early church. We do one of these series for kids every single year, typically in like the month of May. So, we're right on track with this once again. And what we're doing in this series in particular is we're looking at the book of Acts and we're following some of like the famous stories of Peter and Paul's missionary journeys. So, Linda, tell us more about what the series is all about.
Okay, so we're going to kick things off in week 1 with the story of Saul on the road to Damascus in Acts chapter 9. And in addition to the story of his conversion and meeting Jesus, we also want to draw attention to the fact that God called different people to help and to deliver different kinds of messages, like Ananias, for example. And that's why this week's big idea is we are God's messengers.
And then in week 2, we're going to look at Acts chapter 9 to learn the story of Peter bringing a woman named Tabitha back to life and how that like miraculous resurrection led to people sharing the story of Jesus. And so the big idea for this week is we can share the stories of God's miracles.
And then in week 3, we're continuing with another story about Peter. And this is the one with his vision of the sheet of unclean animals. And he takes what he learned in this vision when he visits with Cornelius and all the people who are there at his home. And the big idea for this week is God can deliver anyone.
Then in week 4, we are going back to hearing about what Paul has been up to. So this is Acts chapter 16. And we're hearing about the time that Paul traveled to Macedonia and to Philippi and meeting other followers of God in all of those places. And the big idea for this week is God's message goes everywhere.
And finally, in week 5, we're continuing in Acts chapter 16 with the story of Paul and Silas in prison and how they're praising God. And then an earthquake happens, and all the prisoners could go free, but instead they stay so that they can tell this jailer about Jesus, and the whole household of this jailer is saved. And so this story tells us that it's not just about helping Paul and Silas out of prison. God sent Paul and Silas to help the jailer and his family and everyone who are there. So the big idea for this week is that in various ways, God sends help.
Love it. And then all of these big ideas can really be summed up in this month's memory verse, which is Isaiah 6:8. And that says, Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send and who will go for us? And I said, Here am I, send me. Okay, so let's talk about the theme for this series. This month's decorating theme is deliveries because we are talking about God's message going everywhere. But have fun with this one because it can literally mean like any kind of delivery. You can save up your Amazon boxes, your takeout boxes, maybe like wipe them down first though, because that's gross. Same with your pizza boxes. Snail mail, postcards, anything that you can like send in the mail or like send in any way, shape, or form is the idea. And so ever since the pandemic, like we've all been getting things delivered more than ever. So we think that this is a theme that will hopefully connect with your kids and your families. So yeah, that's the idea.
So there are a few ways you can actually decorate your space to be aligned with this theme. One way, if you want to go all out, is to make it look like this mail room, which I think would be super fun with just packages and envelopes all over the place, maybe with like a cart. Or you can make it more like someone's front porch with a mailbox and you're just talking to kids while you're delivering messages. That'd be really cool. Or you can just have elements that's related to the theme lying around. It doesn't have to be like a cohesive background. So you can have envelope banners, you can have a DIY mailbox you make with your kids or volunteers, maybe, or you can make your own delivery and mail trucks and have them just kind of scattered around the space. I think that would be super fun. And also, if you're giving out prizes or treats during this time, you might want to consider giving out little die cast mail trucks. I don't know why, but my 4 year old is obsessed with ours. And so I wish I had one to show you, but they will love that, especially the younger kids. You can probably also get postage stamp stickers, which is always fun. And you could also get like a themed box or kind of their very own mailbox that you can fill with whatever you want because the outside is themed. And make sure you check out our programming guide, our Pinterest link for more ideas for additional crafts and other decorative ideas.
Next up, we want to give you a look at the structure of this series. So, if you've been using Grow Kids, then hopefully you've noticed by now that in our elementary curriculum, every single lesson is split up into 3 sections. You've got your what section, which is kind of the fun intro to what we're talking about. We have our so what section, which is really the Bible teaching section. And that is kind of explaining to kids like why this story matters to us. And then the now what section is what we do with this story. How can we apply this to our lives? So that's the structure that always stays the same. But within that, we always try to do like new things, different things to keep there's kind of like a big structure, but then some like differences within that to keep it fresh for kids. So, Linda, tell us what's like unique and special about the structure of this series in particular.
Okay, you guys are going to love the series. There are so many really fun themed activities that I think you all will enjoy. But two things I kind of want to draw your attention to today is how we're going to do the big idea reveals for this series and also each small group activity.
Okay, so let's talk about those big idea reveals first. Every week within Grow Kids, we have one big idea that is kind of like this really short, little punchy statement, which we read for you in the beginning of this video. These big ideas are like the truths that we want kids to walk away with and hopefully remember. And so, to make those things really sticky in kids' brains, we try to do something really fun to reveal the big idea every single week of every single series. So, Linda, what is fun about our big idea reveals for this series?
So, this month's big idea reveal involves asking for an extra volunteer to be the special messenger for the month. And so, each big idea reveal, they're going to come out and kind of like accidentally on purpose interrupt your lesson and then hand you the big idea in fun ways each week. So, think of this character as kind of like Mr. McFeely from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, if you grew up with that, or, Mr. McFeely from Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, same person. So you can have that volunteer wear an outfit like this one and just have them come in and just be all sorts of cheery to deliver the big idea. If you are short on volunteers, you can maybe even ask like an older student to help, or you can just be the special messenger yourself. You can just dress up and leave the room and come back real quick and be like, just kidding, I'm a different person today. And that would be really fun for the kids too.
Love it. Now, let's talk about those small group activities that you mentioned, Linda. So, for every week of Grow Kids, we give you a little small group guide for your small group leaders. If you have those or your teachers, whatever you call them, it's kind of like the discussion section, but then we also have a little activity at the bottom that your small group leaders or teachers can do in addition to the discussion. So, what is fun and interesting about these small group activities for this series?
Yeah, I love these small group activities because each one has a different facet of deliveries that is kind of incorporated into reviewing the big idea or Bible story for the day. So I think it'll be a really great way to sum up everything that they talked about today or in that week. So the first week we have this activity called Mailed It, and you get this like printable that looks like airmail, which is really cute. I don't know if anyone sends airmail anymore, but these envelopes are super cute, and I think kids will enjoy filling that out. Next week, we have one called Scent with Love, and it's like a flower arrangement they're going to make out of pipe cleaners. So, flower delivery, that's a thing. And then we have an activity called Good News for Everyone in week 3, where they get to write about or draw a few people that they might not typically talk to, and they can tell them something about Jesus in this delivery truck printable. And then we also have this fingerprint map where kids get to cover a map with their fingerprints to show that God's message goes everywhere, which is the big idea for that week. And then in week 5, we have this prayer postage stamp where they can decorate the stamp with a situation that they can pray to God about to ask for help. And so all of these are really great activities to do on their own, but the fact that they tie in with the story and the big idea really well is super helpful.
Love that. So, just to close things out, we're going to give you a few helpful tips to help you make this series a little extra awesome.
So, the first tip we have for you is something you might already be doing, but we just wanted to give you an extra reminder, and that is to practice the memory verse with your kids in different ways. And we want you to help kids remember scripture because, scripture is something that they should know. And kids, I feel like nowadays, they're not really committing a lot of things to memory. So, let's try to introduce a memory verse to them in just different ways to make it really sticky for them. So to start, make sure you check out our memory verse sign language that we provide every month. So we do have it for this series as well. So make sure you check that out and just work on that with your volunteers and your kids. Next, you can also use our memory verse coloring page, and you can have kids decorate that and put that up in their space like early on so they can look at it every week. And lastly, look at all of the different memory verse modules we provide in the lesson, and each week we have something really different, like unscrambling and putting things in order and whatnot. And I just wanted to point out in week 5, we have this really cute thing, and it's called a memory catcher. You might have seen this, otherwise known as a cootie catcher, I think. How this is going to help your kids memorize it is just kind of as like a tactile tool as the kids play with it. They can open up the flaps. So we have like different characters from this month on there. And then if you open it up, we have all of the Bible verses inside. So we provide this printable and instructions on how to fold it and just have fun with it. And there's a little trinket for them to take home to help them memorize their
That
memory
makes me
verse.
so happy. I haven't seen one of those since like 6th grade, and I'm just really getting all the nostalgic vibes. So, thank you so much for this activity, Linda.
Yes, and I'm really glad that we included the
Yeah,
instructions because it took me a while to figure out how to fold it
that's
myself.
good.
So I'm glad that you'll have that as a
Yeah, that's great.
resource.
That's very kind of you for providing that. Amazing. Love that. So that's the first tip. So tip number 2 is deliver something to your families and or volunteers, like a literal thing, like deliver them something. We obviously all get a lot of deliveries these days, but we don't always get a lot of like personal gifts and letters. So maybe use this series as an opportunity or excuse to do something that's like really nice for the people who are involved in your ministry. It could be like a little gift, it could just be a handwritten note, but just send them something. Actually, one time when I was a volunteer, a really cute thing that the church I was volunteering for did was the whole staff all wrote me individual thank you notes and like bundled them up in a big bundle and sent them to me. And it was so wholesome. I loved it. So I don't know, steal that idea if you want.
That is so cute. And of course, we also provide volunteer
You
celebrations and appreciation. So you can check that
good
out
call.
for ideas on what to do. I need to check that out because I haven't been
Oh,
appreciating my volunteers
yeah,
very
do that.
well. So I will definitely take that tip. Our third tip is to get creative with the coloring pages. I know I plug coloring pages every so often, but that's just because I am so proud of the coloring pages that Grow puts out. And especially coming from a small church where I always had to look for coloring pages myself, I'm so happy that we have these really creative coloring pages. So this month, they all look really cool. They're all on theme. And so they kind of look like posters. So, one tip I have for you is you can blow them up to poster size and have kids color it together and then put it up in your ministry space. I think that would be really fun and it will help you decorate as well. So, always a plus when your kids help you decorate your space. And this is a really helpful tip, especially if you have preschoolers or younger kids, because then they can work on it together and color with finger paints or dot markers. And that would be really fun for them to do something kind of interactive and not just sitting there by themselves with crayons.
Love that. That's awesome. And then our final tip for you, friends, is to get aligned with both your student ministry and maybe your adult small group ministry. For this series, we actually have alignment for all of the age groups, which doesn't happen like all the time, but once in a while it does. And so it's not perfect alignment, like because this is a 5 week series for kids, and then our teenagers and our adults get 4 week series. So 4 of the 5 weeks, you're going to be all aligned, which will be wonderful. And so, in your youth ministry environment, the series is called Pass It On. And then in Grow Groups, which is our adult small group curriculum, it is called The Ordinary. So, all 3 of these series kind of all tackle a lot of the same stories. So, feel free to get all aligned with that if you're using more than one of our curriculums. And that's it, friends. Thank you so much for joining us for another deep dive. As always, we would love to see your pictures, your videos, hear your stories, see what you're doing to to really make this series your own. You can tag us on Instagram. You can post your stuff in our Facebook group, which you can find by going to Facebook and searching for Stuff You Can Use, a children's ministry community. We love it all. We want to see all the fun things because you guys are super creative and inspiring. And I know other people want to see what you're doing too. So thank you all. We will see you next time for our next deep dive for June. And we'll see you then. Bye.